Hi, loves. We have such a treat for you today. We are doing something completely different. We have an amazing guest on the show who is going to make us laugh. Her name is Michele Traina. She's an actor, a comedian, a writer, and she created the show called Divorce Diaries, which you can find on Amazon Prime. She has her very own Amazon special. And a couple of things that I just love about Michele is that she is also divorced. So she's in the club. Hello. And she really values healing through humor. And she has said this about herself in the past, that she often runs up against failures by trusting the wrong people, giving them empathy, and at times being too trusting. She's a fireball of energy and emotions. And when taken advantage of too many times, can be reactive, but is always unapologetically, Michele, responsible for her behavior and duty to be a good mom and good person. I just think Michele is so relatable, and I cannot wait for us to have fun together in this hour. Welcome, Michele.
Hi, thank you for having me, Dawn. That was a really great intro. I love that. I apologize and I then also unapologize sometimes.
Okay, first things first. Can we talk about what asshole names their podcast Your Divorce Diary when there was already a comedy show called
Okay.
Divorce Diaries? Me, I'm the asshole.
Well, you're not an asshole. First of all, I love that you brought it up because I didn't notice the name similarities until after I was Googling divorce coaches and divorce lawyers in Boca Raton when I was marketing, and that's how I connect with you. I'm like, she sounds familiar, and then I saw, I was like, oh, her podcast is Dear Divorce Diary. I was like, pretty cool. So I have run up against this problem. And it's not a problem, really. It's just what it is. Like, I'm not the first person to take a name and say, oh, someone else say, hey, this name is great too. So I have had people who use Divorce Diaries. There's other things out there. I had to do an extensive research with my entertainment lawyer when I was doing the pilot.
Okay.
Before the Amazon Prime special. I have an LLC at Divorce Diaries. I had to trademark the name, which technically I had to pay. I paid some hefty money to trademark it. The government came back and said it's too generic.
Bummer.
And it cost, so it ended up, my lawyer and I decided we have to just leave it as like an unofficial trademark. And then if we want to battle somebody for doing something similar, not battle, that's just the wrong word, but like.
Let's not battle, Michele. Let's not battle.
No, not you, not you. Oh, let me tell you something. I got a juicy story, not you, but like there was somebody using the name as a podcast, Divorce Diaries. And we did
like identical.
Identical.
Yeah.
And he did know about me because he liked some of my stuff, and I thought it was odd. So I let it be for a couple of years, and then he reached out to someone that works for me to have them do something. And
Balls.
then that person, but so I don't know if it was intentional. I don't think it was. I think it just happened a bit like he found him on Fiverr, that kind of thing. So long story short, the guy did actually shift his name because my producer got involved and helped me a little bit, but it is something I hate to deal with because I'm a nice person and I don't want to get in conflict with people, but it also is something that when someone is using the name or similar and I don't know them, I either want to reach out and say, hey, this is kind of cool, like we did.
Yeah.
Right? And
I know your response was so, you said great minds think alike, right? And I just was
100%.
like, oh, I 100%. Love her.
And I think that when I have approach, so this guy, that approach with that other guy wasn't like that the second time around, because when I found out that he reached out to somebody that worked for me, I was kind of like, that's weird.
Yeah.
But the first time I liked stuff and he liked my stuff. So if I left it alone, but I have a juicy story about this.
Tell us.
For it. I slept with the producer who I had a romance with 2 years ago, who helped me and guided me with my pilot. He brought a friend to my show in LA who's a reality TV producer. And now I'm heated about this.
Okay.
A podcast or something, a blog that is in very close proximity to my name. It is, I'm not going to say the name, but she changed the words up. Now, I'm not saying, I know. So this guy, I'm not saying.
The guy you slept with.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's
a producer.
He's in the divorce community too and had a divorce podcast.
And
now he stopped doing it. I noticed this a while ago and I was like, what the fuck? This woman was at my show. Hey, guess what? I would have been happy if she connected with me, said, this is a great name. I let to say connect. After the show, she did nothing. She didn't follow me, nothing.
No collaboration.
And she's huge following. huge following. And
Mm-hmm.
I felt so jaded by this guy. And every time
Mm-hmm.
I had to like stop looking at what she's doing because I recently saw it and I was like, what if this woman creates a show with a similar title and then like I've been working my ass off. So I
Mm-hmm.
have had bad anxiety about stuff like that. But at the end
Yeah.
of the day,
Yeah.
I have to, and not to go off on a rant about it, but I was like, I can't wait to tell Dawn this story. She's like, oh damn. Yes. And it felt really like I don't think that anyone did anything. Let's fuck with this woman because
Like malicious, not like intentionally, but also
but there's something there that made me
no
feel a little
respect.
weird. And
Yeah.
I felt like you were at my show, girl. And then your
Mm.
name, that name came up pretty quite soon
Mm-hmm,
after.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Wow, that
But anyway,
sucks. I hate that for you.
well, I feel like I have to stop paying attention to it, otherwise it's going to eat at my soul,
Yes.
and it can just be like,
Yes.
there's one
Yes.
Michele Traina, fuck it.
Yes, so we do on the pod, we do like a good vibes only. It's not good vibes only because sometimes we have to say, oh,
Oh,
loves, I
sorry.
meant to warn you in the beginning of the episode that there might be more F bombs today. Yeah.
I'm throwing them
So
out.
we're gonna say all the things, right? But then strategically to get great results in life, we have to stop focusing on this shit, right? Because
You're right.
otherwise,
Yeah,
yeah.
I get
Yeah.
it eats at your soul because
Yeah.
then I start comparing myself to this other woman who is putting out there that she's trying to help other women. It made me feel really bad because I'm like, okay, that could be true, but like that this whole thing upsets
This
me. Now,
right, this she didn't live that out loud with you. So there's something there that like doesn't feel aligned or like
and I'm
in
gonna be looked
integrity.
at as that. Yes, doesn't feel aligned, and it also feels like she probably would deny any little piece of like, oh well, I saw your name and thought that was a good idea. She'd
Mhm.
probably deny it. Also, the guy that she's still friends with, that I had a romance with, that I was depressed from about what happened
Like you
afterwards.
caught some feels. You caught some little feels.
Yep.
Mhm.
And then he deserted me after everything. He
Mm.
just
Mhm.
whatever. So I felt like, and he introduced another producer to me for my pilot that then ghosted me too after everything. So don't sleep with the Hollywood producer,
Don't
A.
I know. Long story short, TLDR. Okay. Tell
Those are
us
legs.
tell us everything about how well you were a comedian and actor, a trained actor, right?
Yeah.
Before you got divorced. But then you get divorced and PS friends, you could watch all of this on her Amazon Prime special. Hysterical. But you get divorced and then you decide to turn it into a show.
Yeah.
Tell us about how that helped you heal. Like or like just not like feel so shitty.
Yes. So in my entire life has been me creating from my life to
Mm.
build my self-confidence, build positive energy, build that sparks my drive within me, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
creating. So
Mm.
the natural progression was to create from my life when I got divorced, because prior to my divorce, I had always created for my life. I did a one-woman show in New York called How to Be a Successful Teacher. It was in the United Solo Festival back in 2013. So that was one piece that was like a start prequel to what Divorce Diaries would become, which was a one-woman show, right? And in
Mm.
college, I had written styles of one woman pieces before. But in general, I always created from what was going on in my life. And so when I moved back home with my parents, my grandmother, my handicapped dog, my daughter was potty training alongside my
It's
grandmother, who
okay
was
that I'm laughing right now. Is that okay?
that's I oh yeah, a comedian ought to always laugh. So that's good.
Okay.
But the funny part is like that's what really happened. And I thought, yeah, you can't make this stuff up. I wish this was like a reality show, because at the time I used to watch, and still do. I'm a Bravo TV fanatic. I
Mhm,
loved
mhm.
those Real Housewife, Vanderpump Rules. And I would watch those shows and think, gosh, I wish a camera could follow me around in my life, because this is like, and then
Uh-huh.
the name
Good
of
good content.
it's good content, and the name Divorce Diaries kept coming up because I write every day, and
Mhm,
in a diary.
mhm, mhm,
So and then I also perform. So I was just like,
mhm.
this would be a great piece. Why don't I start building something for the stage,
Mm.
going from there? And then always felt like in my heart of hearts it was a TV show, but I knew that in order to get the content out there, the idea out there, I needed to start creating and building
Something. Mhm.
something. Right. So here we go.
Love that. Okay, so part of how my Dear Divorce Diary came to be is also because I am a huge advocate of journaling.
Mm-hmm.
I
Oh,
created this
absolutely.
21-day right post-divorce roadmap, teaching people how to journal. It's like an immersive experience. And so talk about how, like, the role that writing plays in your life. And I've watched you on your Instagram stories, 5 a.m. Writers Club. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh yes, girl, get it. Right. Um,
Yes.
yeah, like writing.
Yeah. So the journaling component is like helps clean all the cobwebs out of your head to get to the good stuff when you're actually writing a
Mm.
script or writing a book. I believe that.
Or
I
writing
also
one's life.
or for writing one's life, right? And also it helps with jokes. So there's two components for the 5 a.m. Writers Club I found on Twitter. I was hooked on it. It helped me stay on a routine with my writing, with getting my own space for quiet time and my
Mm-hmm.
my journey. I really love it. Sometimes I've been failing at it lately because of my daughter's schedule and my work schedule. With I film for other projects in the city, and it's a lot. So getting
Mm-hmm.
up at 5
Mm-hmm.
sometimes gets pushed aside. But it is for me something that brings out my best writing, even
Mm.
if it's not just if it's just journaling. Then if I write an hour or two later, I get the better stuff out
Better
because I
content.
yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Journaling has helped tremendously. I used to write letters to
Uh-huh.
ex-boyfriends to get
Uh-huh.
out all my feelings.
Did you have voodoo dolls to go with the letters?
I didn't, but I boxed. I This is actually
Oh, like
true.
with
I
gloves.
boxed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I went to used to go to a trainer and box with him.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that would help writing and doing those two things when I would going through some tough times with men, would help. I know it's not just men, there's other stuff that goes on, but writing out feelings I have, even if it's my ex-husband and I'm trying to communicate appropriately with co-parenting, or an ex-boyfriend that's not communicating to me, is making me feel a certain way,
Mhm.
writing it out in my journal or my artist notes or writing letters out would really
Mhm.
help. I feel like I should do Divorce Diaries letters, and you guys could see all the craziness that ensues in my brain.
Oh my goodness, we would love that. So, talk to us about, as you're moving through the divorce process and maybe getting to a place where things are not so hot, right? Like a couple years down the road. What's it like to still have this show that you've built now that
Yeah.
mm, like, how do you do that piece where it's like you want to let it go personally, but professionally you've built this amazing rich
Yeah.
content?
I have had that question before. I have had people say it in different phrases, but so I love this. Like
Okay.
people will say, "Well, what about when you get remarried? You have more to talk about than just divorce. Divorce leaves a bad taste in people's mouth." Okay, so for me, my divorce helped me get back to my identity.
You. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same. Same.
So, right. So I will never stop talking about it because it's a part
Mm.
of me, it's a part of my business. I am constantly meeting people who have gone through divorce, who suffer and are in pain and are trying to heal. And it's also, divorce is also a parallel to feeling like you're on the outskirts. And for
Mhm.
most of my life, I felt like I was on the outskirts.
Like
And I'm not
other, like different, like not quite fitting.
yeah, and I feel like there's probably people that are feeling, oh, everyone I think feels that way at
I
some
think we
point in their
all
life.
feel that way. And it's so funny because we're all watching each other thinking like, "Oh, they're in." And we're all feeling out.
We're all really out. I
Yeah.
also feel like I kind of beat to a drum, a different drum than the
Mhm.
atypical,
Mm.
41-year-old mom. Whereas like people want this stability and this structure, and I do want stability and structure, but
Mhm. Mhm.
I couldn't imagine not pursuing being an actor or
Mhm.
pursuing getting my show in a series or these other goals that mean so much to me, and just settling. So, and a lot of people end up settling because of the fear, right? So I
Reach.
right, the fear gets inside of everybody, and then it's overwhelming, and it does get inside me too. But I refuse. Like I want to keep experiencing this journey.
Yes.
I mean, I want to be able to pay rent. So some days are
You
like, oh
know,
my
the little
god.
details, little details.
And I feel like divorce is not so much this cloud for me, it's more of the tunnel that got to the light. And
Mhm.
so I'll always talk about it, and it's just the way it'll shift throughout
I
my next couple of years.
I have chills. I feel like so similarly, right?
Yeah.
Like the thing that made me ever even want to be a therapist. I was in the 6th grade and my parents were going through it. And I think your
Uh,
parents are still married, but right. And it wasn't even so much their divorce that was the trauma. It was their trauma that was the trauma. But
right.
it definitely set me on a path that shaped my life that then did lead to my own divorce and which led to my, dare I call it, an awakening, but like return
Yes.
to myself for the first time ever in my life, probably.
I
And
love that.
so it's like such a portal. And that's why I'm so passionate about
I love
helping
hearing
women.
that your passion. So I think that, and I also feel like people think that divorce is this, walking the plank. Whereas I
Mm,
feel like, and it depends. Everybody's situation is different. My parents were
mm,
married for 45 years, madly in love, but they
hmm.
threatened divorce all the time.
All the time.
But they did really like my dad died 3 years ago, and my mom is.
Mm,
It's very hard for my mom. This was her
mm,
best friend. I mean, when I say soulmates to the level of
yeah.
like, part of me is like, God, that pain must be so hard that I'm kind of
Uh-huh.
glad I don't experience it. But at the same
Mm,
time, I do want that love,
mhm,
which is
mhm.
the journey of Divorce Diaries is actually about me finding that same kind of love that my parents have because it was love at first sight,
Mhm,
very old school,
mhm,
like soulmate story you hear in movies. And it's like,
mhm,
I could not find that. That was not my journey. So we'll
mhm,
see. Stay
mhm.
tuned.
Stay tuned, right?
I don't know at this point. I feel like I'm just gonna sell on a good dog. That's a good companion.
There's something to be said. Lilliput's over there in the sun, my little Frenchie.
Oh,
Yeah, a good dog does a lot. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Okay, so tell us how you juggle being a single mom
yeah.
and all of this, right? Because you travel, you perform, you co-parent, you all those things. How do you juggle all that?
So main big component of it is that I have a very supportive mom, and
Mhm.
she helps me a lot.
Mhm.
My mom and my dad, my dad has passed, but in moving home with them I was home with them for 5 years.
Okay.
So I started the stand-up journey during the time I was living at home. I had done improv for years. I had been in the comedy scene in that way, but never
Mhm.
in stand-up. So when I started doing stand-up, I was able to leave to do certain things because my parents were there. But I didn't really
Mm.
start traveling till I moved out and got my own apartment. Again, though, my parents really helped. My mom helped me. My ex-husband definitely steps up and takes. I try to plan the travel dates when she's
Mhm,
with her
mhm,
father,
mhm,
or my mom will help me. Now things have shifted in the last couple of years because of COVID. Because my mom is getting older. I lost my dad. There's a lot. My daughter's getting older. Things
mhm,
are shifting.
mhm.
So I basically try to coordinate my schedule with my daughter's gymnastics schedule, the co-parenting
Aha.
schedule, and availability. And it's hard, but it's
It's
doable.
hard. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So amazing. So you must talk to a lot of women, a lot
Yeah.
of, right? Like, and so what stands out to you as the things we struggle with most? You talk about some of it in the show. One of my favorite parts actually is when you're talking about all the different types of moms in
Yes.
the in drop off.
Yes. And I want to preface this with, and I always think, oh, are they going to get pissed off? But some of the school moms came to my show in October, and they were like, "Yes, that's not me," is that? And they were laughing and poking fun, and it's great. But I will tell you, I feel like we all have those hats on sometimes, and I
Mhm.
think that
Like masks.
like those masks. Like, I was never the class mom, but I'm sure I could play that mom sometimes that's always
Uh-huh.
like annoyed about something and then
Uh-huh.
complaining about something. Then there's
Uh-huh.
the moms in the competition moms, because now my daughter's in competition, and I experienced it yesterday where I was like, I try to see the good in everybody, and those
Yes.
little things that are funny to me, I have to poke fun at, because like,
Yes.
why are you asking me what somebody else's child's score is and you're not even in this level? Stop texting me. Go have sex with your husband and enjoy your Sunday. What is wrong with you? This is like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, I was getting texts from a mom who wasn't even at the meet, whose daughter's session was at the session before my daughter's, and she's texting me things I didn't even know,
Even
and
know.
I was at the meet. I'm like, are you here? Like,
Right.
Anyway,
And so do we know we're them, right? Do we know we're they like do those busybodies know that they're busybodies and
I
stuff?
have to. I think I have to. I have to put. I have to. I'm gonna have to put. Because I really like that mom. She's very nice to me. But when she says things about other moms, I'm like, what the heck are you saying about me and my kid?
Uh-huh.
So I do want to bring it up in a funny way because she
Yeah.
has come to my show before. I want to bring it up if she
This
comes
is
to the
like
show.
part
And I'd
of
be
your
like,
mission in life is to help us see ourselves more clearly.
well, I know what I look like, and I look like a hot mess. I mean, I can only imagine what does she. I can only imagine the mom's mistake. Does she make a living doing that? Like maybe she should worry about her kid's ADHD and not her next set or something like no, something like that. I think, but I also think like I'm okay to take. I can take a poke at,
Yeah.
but I think that there's a lot of pressure for us as women. So
Yes.
the thing that I connect with a lot with women that are similar in similar positions, or even women that are not, even if they're married or don't have kids, is the feeling on the outskirts and not feeling
Mhm.
like we comparing ourselves to other
Mm.
people. And I
Mhm.
try to poke fun at that,
Mhm.
especially through my own insecurities, and
Mhm.
say, hey, look, we're not alone, because you can look really beautiful and still have these insecurities about yourself. Like, I have no upper
Mhm.
lip. And I was
Mhm.
joking about that on stage. I'm like, is this why I don't have a boyfriend? Like, I'm
That's it.
tired.
You figured it out. It's the upper lip. It's precious.
My forehead ate it. That's how big
Your
my forehead is.
forehead ate it. That's good. That's
Because my
good.
forehead's pretty big, but it's okay.
But you
I
know what? I have this year decided I'm reclaiming my face, right? Like I let go of the Botox, I let go of the concealer and the like this is my face. Like
Your
hello.
skin is beautiful. First of all, I if I could afford Botox, I will be honest. I'm not. I'm gonna bring it up. Bring it, rat poison. No,
My
I'm just
shameless
kidding.
plug, my new trick that I want to love, but I need to get more consistent with it is this thing called frownies. Have you seen on Instagram people with these like things on their foreheads?
Yeah,
So I've tried it. I've done it about a half a dozen times, but you have to be consistent as with anything, you know. But
it gets rid of the wrinkles.
yeah, well, it trains your forehead to not, you see, this, I have this therapist
Yes,
from
me
here,
too.
this like, cause
This is dating right here. This is my
okay, if you're on
person.
YouTube, you can see us making faces at each other. If you're not on YouTube, you
I do
have to
this.
imagine it.
If you're not on YouTube, take your forehead and hold it apart like this for 30 times a day. That's going to be the therapy. Oh my God. I take a roller to my face. And here's the thing is like, I think that's the issue is that with women, we compare ourselves to these other things, whereas
Mhm.
men will bang an oak tree that's like got a raccoon humping it on the other side. So
At the
why do
same
we
time, yes.
care?
Why do we care? Why do we care? Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
You're spot on, right? And we talk about this so much on the pod is when we're doing that comparing thing, when we're scrolling, it's like we're actively disconnecting ourselves from the wisdom that's inside. I hate to get all woo woo about it, but it's my thing, right? Because there's this wisdom inside that says, go create, live, laugh, fuck some shit up, go do the things. And every time we're comparing and we try to hold ourselves to be the same as or similar to, we lose our own individual spark.
100%. And I think that that is something that has to come from within. I think that if and it's hard because I mean, my daughter's experiencing it in the fifth grade. Kids are
Mm,
comparing. We got the
mm,
lead in a play. And I think that I think confidence, I'm working on my confidence get coming from a place of accountability.
mm-hmm.
And I read and listen to Ed Milet a lot. He's a
Ooh.
huge
Mm-hmm.
yeah, definitely recommend him for
Mm-hmm.
if motivational speaking that is to another level, that has actually helped me, and in physical things I've seen it help me in. So he talks about how confidence is, following through on things. So if I'm going to get up at 5 a.m. 3 days out of the week and I do that, that's supposed to help me build my confidence. And it does. I've seen it. So I focus more. I try to focus more on that as opposed to my skin is not as good. My skin looks horrible on stage compared to this person, because it doesn't do me any good. It
None.
literally does nothing, and it just will. And then at the end of the day, it just drives me down a spiral.
So
So
it's the idea that consistency is queen when it comes to building confidence.
yes,
Yeah.
100%.
Follow through. Love that.
She's
Love that.
queen, honey.
Okay, so we were chatting about this a slight bit before we hit like official start record, right? But
Yeah.
talk to us about improv and like tell us like what is improv a little bit and how do you see improv helping people with self-expression, with feeling more comfortable with themselves, with because you are trained in improv, right?
Yes.
I've and at the end of your show you do some improv and it's
Mhm.
honestly one of my favorite parts of the show.
Yeah, so if you watch the Amazon Prime special, you'll see the improv part with about there's like by myself, and I do this thing, letter to my ex, where the audience members have written a line to their ex if they were to see their ex in front of them, and then I do this letter to my ex, and I use those lines to give them a monologue of what we would say to their ex. So, and
Our
then sometimes
listeners, their brains are on fire right now because we all have that line, right? And we've all rehearsed it at 5 a.m.
yes, at
Yeah, yeah.
5 a.m. exactly, and or when you see a picture of them like looking like they're succeeding in life, you just want to be
Ugh.
like,
Yeah.
Karma forgot your address, huh? So and then sometimes I have special guests come on the stage. My writers from the Divorce Diaries TV series that we're still developing, they came on stage in the Amazon Prime special and they did a whole set of who argued it best. So sometimes we play multiple games, but the biggest game is a letter to my ex, and it's one of my favorites. And really want to share this piece of story with you real quick
Yeah.
about my shows in Ohio 2 weekends ago. I ask for a suggestion from the audience, like occupation. Give me
Hmm,
your
hmm,
ex's occupation. So
hmm.
someone shouted out the president,
Okay.
and I picked I don't look at the lines before. I just pick them, right?
Okay.
I opened it up and I was like, wow, God is looking up above. And the line said, so I said to my ex, Mr. Joe Biden, and I opened the letter and it said, I can't believe you're still alive. I mean, it was perfect. And it was like,
Okay, to the Biden family.
no, but like it
Yeah.
was just the
Yeah.
joking about because he's so
Yeah,
much
how the
older than.
yeah, like how the universe just kind of knew to put that with that. Like, I know you can't make this stuff up.
And it also, more importantly, I was thinking about this yesterday because we're transitioning Divorce Diaries into doing more theatrical version in a theater where it
Okay.
would incorporate that kind of game at a deeper level in other parts of the stand-up material, right?
Mm,
So that is the audience gets real lit up and excited with
mhm.
that game. And that's
Mhm.
the difference between Divorce Diaries and another stand-up special or another show, a live show. And then we're trying to bring we're working on with improv in itself. It helps people get out all that frustration in a way that's healthy, right?
Right. So, from my perspective, personally, even so much of my healing journey, whether it was divorce or all of my other much deeper, darker shit that I've worked through in life,
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
we all have those really kind of obsessive thoughts, those conversations we have in our mind with people, this shit that we can't shake, right? That just keeps resurfacing. And I think about what you're saying that because when you watch the end of the special, people have some dark lines, right? It's like
Yeah.
some of their juiciest, rawest stuff that they would love to say to their ex. And it must be such a good feeling to be able to play that out with a person.
I love it. It's a lot of fun. I have done the show since 20 I first started doing the show around 2016, and when I added this part, an old college professor told me to do
Mm.
this. She
Mhm,
told
mhm,
me to ask the audience for a line they'd say to their ex. So,
mhm.
shout out Maggie Lally.
Mm.
She gave me this. Now, my producer David Voxmullen helped me with the letter to the ex because sometimes I do the show completely by myself without any
Okay.
features, and it's hard to do improv by yourself because you need an improv partner.
Yeah, yeah.
So he said, he's like, you can do this game called Scraps with just the lines. And then when you read some of these lines, people are, I mean, yeah, they do feel a certain way about their exes, and then feeling it out through another person, so they're not on the hot seat, does
Mhm.
help, I believe. I mean, I also think that if we were to do something like a workshop, or if when I've done workshops or if I've done improv classes, it does get people feeling good about themselves. It gets the blood flowing. It gets their energy. to a level, and I'm going to probably use the wrong terms, but there's something about what the improv does with their motivation or drive, especially when they hear laughter, that it gets
Yes.
them to
Because
another
it's
level of
motivate. I
excitement. It
see.
opens them up.
Uh-huh. It's that experience of
Exactly. It
validation.
motivates them.
Mhm.
Validation right there.
Mhm,
Thank
mhm.
you. Actually, that is exactly what I was looking for. I have, especially when I worked with my former theater student, when I taught theater, and I did a lot of improv with all age groups from kindergarten, preschool to college.
So cool.
Improv wakes people up. Yeah, it wakes
Yes.
people up. It
Well,
makes them
because
feel good. I still teach.
it's the act of expression instead of
No, no, no.
suppression, right? And suppression creates depression. Here I'm with all the pressions, right? And so improv is an
I love it.
ultimate expression, which does it literally
Right.
lifts. Yeah.
And so what I loved, my favorite part for myself with healing, and not that
Mhm.
to make it was the doing my
Mhm.
ex-boyfriends, not so much my ex-husband. I mean, there was a little bit of a weary line there,
Sure.
with my daughter, not wanting to
Yeah.
really put him out on the hot seat. But I
Mhm.
figured my ex-boyfriends were, I created these caricatures,
Safe. Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
I would be like, yo, what's going on? I'm a cop, like I
Yeah.
serve and protect. I protect and serve. I'll protect Michelle unless I'm getting overtime. Like I start, and I just start riffing off of that.
Yeah.
Because some of the lines that you hear from these men, and I know women too, it's not just men, but the men I would date would be like, "Are you kidding me?" Like he
Mm.
would say to me stuff like, I can't pick you up because I have to drive my mom to Philly. What? Why can't you tell your mom to take the other 10 brothers and sisters you have, which was true, and ask them to drive her to Philly? We have a date.
Oh my word.
Sorry, I just went on a van right
Oh
there.
my word. Okay, so later
I
this year
shaved my
we
legs for him.
you shaved your that was a lot of effort, right? That was a lot of effort. Okay, so later this year we're launching a membership called A Different D Word. Let your mind run with that
Ooh.
one. And
Yes.
in the membership, I would love for you to come and do some improv workshops with us because I think that would be a super fun way to heal. I think that too often people like me, you crack on coaches in the beginning of the special, and I freaking laughed so hard.
Oh, yeah,
Divorce
the
coaches,
coaches.
right?
Oh,
But therapists and coaches, right? Too often we put way too much emphasis on very serious ways of healing when, quite frankly, some of the best ways of healing are what we're talking about, laughter.
right.
And yeah,
And you know what? I will say this with the coaches. I poke fun at it because there's so many, but
there's so
it's like
many.
more power to. But and listen, look, people can poke fun at me. You're a comedian, oh, haha. But like, it's you find and I try to do that too when people say you're not funny. Are you a man or a woman? I get that a lot. Like
Yeah.
people don't know what gender I am. I'm like, I don't really
What?
care. Just buy a ticket to the
What?
show. I mean,
Okay.
honestly, people can be very mean, and so what makes me
Mm,
laugh is that like they think by saying that to me
mhm.
that's going to trigger me,
Throw you
whereas
off.
I don't
Mhm.
give a crap. Like
Yeah.
whatever you want to
Which
think I
I
am.
love about you. Yeah.
Thank you. But no, the coaches. So I have had. There's a coach who actually helped me talk me off a ledge. She has like a co-parenting coach, but she told me that because of my co-parenting
Mhm.
relationship,
Mhm.
I used to be very subjective when I was speaking to him, and I texted her. I said, "Oh my God, he like," and she's like, "All right, here's what you do." So she helped me find the language, and I think that there is coaches do help, but I ran into a lot of coaches when I first got like did the show,
Mhm.
and I was like, "Oh my God, everyone's becoming a divorce coach." Like it's just funny to me. It's like I feel like if we got to the point where we're divorced, I don't know if we need a coach anymore, But
We made it, baby. We made it. Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
exactly, exactly.
I think much like you and I have both found inspiration from our own processes, right? I think that sometimes we find that and then we want to pass it on, and
100%,
it's
yes.
intoxicating. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I think that if you have a journey and an experience, anybody could help somebody else through that journey and experience in itself. So we all have
Yeah.
something to share and communicate. And I mean, that's why I love storytelling because we can
Yeah.
help somebody through it, through
Yeah.
the craft of storytelling, comedy, acting, writing, the whole nine yards.
All these different forms of connection
Yeah,
because we really
absolutely.
are all in it together, except that guy that had to take his mom to Philly. We're not in it with him.
The cop. I call him the cop in the show. And We have the TV pilot, which we haven't released out to the public because it's running film festivals, but you would see him in the
Mm.
TV pilot.
So you
Um,
already filmed it.
yeah, we filmed it. So I filmed it 2 years ago, but I have since then signed with a producer
Okay.
and a team that rewrote 6 episodes for season 1, including a reshoot of the pilot, which would be more in the lens of my producer's team and my team now. Whereas when we shot the proof of concept, the original pilot, I brought everybody on
Mm-hmm.
and to try to bring this concept to life. And now I had to learn a lot as a
Mm.
filmmaker and as a and it's
Mm-hmm.
it's a great
Mm-hmm.
journey, and I got a little bit of the bug of filmmaking now, not a little bit, a lot, but it's a journey because we have to
So when you're making reels and stuff, are you using some of that
no.
content?
So, oh
No.
well.
Okay.
So okay. So the reels, I have used pieces of the pilot
Mm-hmm.
in some of my reels, but I
Okay.
actually haven't released. I think I just posted yesterday or reposted something from the pilot, and I can share the pilot trailer with you too. Um,
Ooh.
I think I've shared it now on my Instagram, but it's been a while, so I think I'm going to start
We'll
bringing
post it in
some
the
of
show
it back.
notes. Yeah.
Yes, and
Yeah.
we're going to be starting another. I've been looking for an investor for the TV series for the season 1.
So, ladies, if you know anyone,
Yeah. Well, I don't know. So if ladies, if you know anybody, and if not, we I think are going to go the Kickstarter route again,
okay.
which is hard too because it's like a
Mhm.
full-time job to run those things, but we need to film at least 3 episodes. We wanted to film
Okay.
6, and we're thinking of filming 3 now if we can't raise the amount of money we need. So that's what we're going, because in the ideas of like Netflix knocking on the door,
Hmm.
it's hard for that. So build it and they'll come. I mean, there's a
Build it.
writer's strike. Yeah.
Amen. Yep. Yep. So this is what I'm so impressed with to hear you talk. It's like you just keep going,
Oh, thank you.
right?
Yes.
This is the secret sauce to life. You keep going and you have a vision and you keep building towards that vision and screw anybody else or whether it's easy or whether it's hard. And you just
Yeah.
keep going in the direction of your dreams.
I mean, that's the beauty. I'm so happy to hear that you feel that way from talking to me, because I do feel that's been a consistent theme of my life. Just
Yeah.
keep going.
Keep going.
Divorce Energizer
You're
Bunny.
not doing it wrong. We're not doing it wrong, right? We're all because we do that comparing thing and then we're like, "Oh crap, am I doing it wrong?" Like, no, we just keep going and
Yeah.
enjoy the part about the learning and the little creative bugs that we get and the little, like happy accidents that happen and you just keep going.
It's very hard sometimes to be patient for me
Oh,
specifically.
right?
So I
Right?
am a big Gary Vaynerchuk fan. I don't know if you
Uh-huh,
know
uh-huh.
Gary.
Love him.
And
Mhm.
he's all about sharing the journey. And that always resonated with me, because some people will say, wait until you have this, wait until you have that. And for me, Gary V was very much just share and create. And I got to
Mhm.
be on his tea with Gary V right during the very beginning of the pandemic, which
Awesome.
to me was a sign, was a good omen, because
Headed in the right direction. Yeah. Yeah.
right, like, I read The Alchemist. Do you ever read The
Mhm,
Alchemist?
mhm. Paul
Okay, so the
Coelho.
good
Mhm.
yeah, so the good omen stuff. When that
Mhm.
happened, I said, "Okay, God's looking out for me."
Mhm,
I
mhm,
know, not to
mhm.
be spiritual, but my dad's looking out for me. I had just left my teaching
Mhm.
job to go back
Mhm.
to performing full time, and I was scared.
Mhm.
And so but the irony of the pandemic shifting Divorce Diaries, I made a pilot that came out of the pandemic. I mean, did all this wonderful
Mm.
things.
Mhm,
It did
mhm.
work. So if you really try to find the small wins within
Mhm.
that process and the journey,
Mhm.
right? Even if you're going through the divorce and you're like, oh my, I had to do a short sale. I thought I was going to file bankruptcy. These
Mhm.
big dark clouds are coming around you. But what it forced me to do is find these beauty little moments, even if it's watching a reality show, something to get
Yes.
you up and out, of the
Yes.
cloud.
Yes. Can't stay focused on the dark clouds. It's
Right.
tempting. It's
It's tempting.
tempting. Yeah.
I mean, I'm a big act now kind of gal.
Act now. You and
Yeah.
I are very similar that way.
Yeah.
Very similar to that. Do you remember when we first connected? And I DM'd you and I said, I'm going to be in New York this week because all of a sudden one day I was like, oh, we're going to New York for spring break. We should get a Times Square billboard. And so then we did that. My
Love
team froze and they were like, shit, she's serious.
Oh, that would be
Yeah.
amazing.
Act now. So yeah, we did that while we were there in April. Act now, right? Just do the thing. Just do the thing and keep going.
Yeah, I think that if, obviously always, do consider other things if you really need to, but I feel like waiting, and if you feel like you have something to just share it. We're in a time space where everything is at our fingertips virtually. So
Mhm.
sharing your story, even if it's on a smaller platform or a big, but whatever, share your journey. It might help
Mhm.
somebody.
100%. What would you want us to look at first? If we're going to come check out Michele, like what is the thing you want us to watch first?
Oh, I mean, I would say watch the Amazon Prime special. I
Okay.
think that that's my live show. But now if you come to the live show, it is a little different because I'm reshaping the material since it's already out in a special now. So they're not going
Yeah.
to see exactly that. Um, I personally, I think to get a good idea of who I am, my Instagram and TikTok, those
Mhm.
have like, if you can't sit in front of the TV for an hour and you have to break up my special, then go to my Instagram, go to my TikTok. You can see short clips of what I've been doing, creating, and of what the diary actually is, Michele
Yeah.
Traina. But I would definitely just check out the special first, and then,
You do a lot of little bits on dating because it's where you are, right? And
yeah.
I think that our listeners will really enjoy that piece because what a frustrating process.
Well,
And
yeah, I talk about my podcast, the Divorce Diaries podcast, is basically an audio version of my diary, and I put it on
okay.
YouTube. But I literally spill the beans on the guys that I talk to or date.
Yeah.
They don't really like it.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
but you know what? Screw them. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. For any of those entertainment lawyers that are listening, I had a guy that I was talking to this year that religiously was listening to it, and then
ah,
stopped listening to it because he felt like he's like, you're reading our text messages on the podcast.
I can't
I was like,
handle this.
I said, I am reading it because this is why you're making me feel like, because he didn't want to, he's Jewish, I'm Catholic. He couldn't get past the religion thing, and he was very religious.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Well, I don't actually even know now. He said he was, but like to a level of like, you're religious, but you don't go to temple every week. You only eat kosher, but can't you make a pass for me? Like, can't you be with me at least? I'll eat kosher. I don't really care. Let's
There
just be
must
out
be
in public.
something about reading the text messages on the podcast. It's kind of like a like a truth filter thingy, right? Like
I,
if this is
I,
how you're selling yourself in the DMs, then it better be legit because I'm telling the whole planet.
Well, I think he definitely stopped at some point because there was a whole issue that I found out on Facebook. I saw him with two women. It bothered me. I did a
Mm-mm.
whole
Mm-hmm.
big episode
Mm-hmm.
on it, and
Mm-hmm.
I brought in my divorced rabbi friend, who I think he gets a little jealous of, or maybe not. I don't know, but it was a whole thing. So if you, there's a lot of stuff you can listen to. I have a lot of content, but the Amazon Prime special is the thing that we're pushing because me, including my producer, because the show is already on Amazon Prime, and we're trying to raise funds to film episodes for season 1 of the
Mm-hmm.
scripted version,
Mm-hmm.
which is so funny. And you
So
guys, it's like it's
exciting.
The Office. It's literally The Office meets American Mom on amphetamines.
Oh my
It's
goodness.
Yeah, it's
Sounds epic.
mockumentary.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a mockumentary meets Curb Your Enthusiasm, kind of like a
Yeah.
Curb style,
Yeah.
but just it follows me around with the camera trying to do all these things, and it feels nuts, but it's great at the same time.
Love it. I love your energy. I
Thank you. I love your
love
energy.
your dedication and your persistence. I love how you make us laugh. I love that our
Oh,
shows have practically the same name.
I love it.
Your
Love you,
lawyer's
Dawn.
like not helpful.
No, I love this. This was like my ideal kind of like connection with someone like you, because you're gonna find like you're gonna have that happen. And I mean, like I said, when I met that guy and that girl came to the show, I felt so hurt because if
Mhm.
you liked the name and you wanted to do something similar and you saw my show, you could have just reached out to me and said, "Hey, I'm doing this. Want to be a part of it?" Then I would be like all for it. It felt dirty and grimy what they
Yeah.
did, and
Yeah.
it hurt because I really liked the guy too. So
Well, we're all hugs over here.
yes,
Well,
I
I
love
can't
that.
wait for us to do more things in the future. I just
Yes,
know that we like gave birth to a cool thing today. And thank
absolutely.
you for coming on, for making us laugh. And I look forward to having you back.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
All right, loves, until next week. Peace. Dear Divorce Diary is a podcast by My Coach Dawn. You can find more at mycoachdawn.com.